Before George Miller created cinema's most influential post-apocalyptic vision,
In fact, the first movie was really, for me, a very brutal experience.
Mad Max was dismissed as amateur and too violent for mainstream audiences.
Might there be another Mad Max movie?
Nah, Fat Max or something, and he's been through the ringer, and that might be good to...
By distributors who couldn't understand how Australian exploitation film could revolutionize action cinema.
And suddenly it gets shown in Japan and France and all around the world, and people saw something in it.
The cast has finally revealed secrets that will transform your understanding of the film that launched global franchise on minuscule budget.
We had more budget. Complexity of reasons, we didn't have a lot of time.
While inventing visual language for dystopian futures
So long as the paperwork's clean, you boys can do what you like out there.
that defined genre for decades. The medical student budget that changed cinema. What most fans don't realize is that Mad Max was financed partly through George Miller's work as emergency room doctor, with the entire budget equaling less than the catering costs on typical Hollywood productions. The decision to make professional action film for $350,000 forced revolutionary creative solutions that accidentally invented techniques now standard in blockbuster filmmaking. Mel Gibson revealed years later his shock at the production's poverty.
What the hell? So that was an attraction enough.
This wasn't low-budget filmmaking, it was no-budget filmmaking. George was literally working emergency room shifts between filming days to keep financing the movie. We had no money for safety equipment, insurance, or basic production necessities. Everything we did was improvised from desperation and determination. The actors' amazement reflected the impossible circumstances. George Miller disclosed his medical background directly influenced the film's visceral violence. Working trauma units showed me exactly how car accidents destroy human bodies. The crashes and injuries in Mad Max aren't stylized Hollywood violence. They're based on actual emergency room experience. I knew what high-speed impacts really looked like, which made the action sequences genuinely disturbing rather than entertaining spectacle. The medical authenticity created unprecedented realism. The cast performed many of their own stunts because the production couldn't afford professional stunt performers. We were doing genuinely dangerous car work without proper safety equipment or training, disclosed the actors. Several people were seriously injured during filming. The risks we took were irresponsible by modern standards, but the danger created kinetic energy that audiences could feel. The action looked real because it was real. The Mel Gibson discovery. That almost didn't happen. Mel Gibson's casting wasn't based on talent or star potential. It was desperate compromise when preferred actors became unavailable. What Gibson revealed about his accidental discovery shows how one of cinema's biggest action stars emerged from production necessity rather than careful talent scouting or strategic planning. The decision to cast the unknown Gibson came only after more established actors fell through. George wanted someone else, several someone elses, disclosed Mel Gibson. I was essentially last choice after everyone else said no or couldn't do it for various reasons. I got the role because I was cheap, available, and happened to walk into audition with face covered in bruises from bar fight the night before. George thought the bruised face looked perfect for character who'd been through trauma. George Miller revealed that Gibson's bruised appearance convinced him to cast the young actor. Mel showed up to audition looking like he'd been beaten up, which was exactly how Max should look. The damage on his face demonstrated the lived-in violence that the character required. His actual injuries gave him authenticity that makeup couldn't create. The accidental timing was crucial to the casting. The production's inability to pay competitive salary meant only unknown actors would consider the role. Established actors wouldn't work for what we could afford, noted Byron Kennedy. Mel needed the work and was willing to accept minimal payment for chance to star in feature film. His desperation matched our desperation, which created alignment that made the collaboration possible. The post-apocalyptic world that wasn't quite apocalyptic. Yet the film's setting wasn't fully post-apocalyptic wasteland. It was near-future society in late stages of collapse. What the cast revealed about this ambiguous setting shows how the film's restraint in depicting social breakdown created more unsettling vision than complete apocalypse, while leaving audiences uncertain about what disaster had occurred. The decision to show civilization collapsing rather than already collapsed created unique temporal setting. Most post-apocalyptic films show the world after everything has ended, disclosed George Miller. We showed society in its death throes, infrastructure failing, law breaking down, violence escalating, but not yet complete Mad Max 2 wasteland. The ambiguity about what's happening and why made it more disturbing than clear-cut nuclear war aftermath. The film's refusal to explain the specific catastrophe causing social collapse frustrated some viewers, but enhanced the realism. We never state what caused the breakdown: economic collapse, resource wars, environmental catastrophe, noted the writers. The vagueness meant audiences could project their own fears onto the scenario. Every generation finds different resonance in the collapsing society because we never limited it to specific disaster. Mel Gibson revealed how the ambiguous setting affected his performance. Max exists in a world where the rules are changing but haven't completely disappeared. He's still nominally police officer enforcing laws that barely matter. That liminal space between order and chaos was harder to play than pure survivalist in total wasteland. The uncertainty about whether civilization could be saved or was doomed created psychological complexity. The iconic leather costumes and vehicles were actually contemporary 1970s gear, modified minimally to suggest near-future decay. We didn't have budget for elaborate future tech or costumes, disclosed costume designer. The modified police gear and custom vehicles were practical solutions that accidentally created aesthetic that influenced decades of dystopian design. The poverty-forced style that became iconic. The car stunts that redefined action cinema. The film's vehicle stunts weren't just impressive action sequences. They were revolutionary practical filmmaking that established new standards for automotive action.
Hey! I'm gonna ram him. I'm gonna ram him.
What the stunt performers revealed about filming these sequences shows how the dangerous work with minimal safety equipment created visceral reality that CGI still can't replicate decades later. The decision to film actual high-speed crashes without safety measures or insurance created unprecedented danger. We were doing 100+ miles per hour stunts on public roads with minimal protection, disclosed the stunt drivers. The crashes weren't controlled demolitions. They were real accidents staged to be captured on camera. People were seriously injured multiple times. The modern film industry would never allow what we did because the risk of death was genuinely high. George Miller's medical training meant he understood injury risk while being willing to push boundaries most directors wouldn't approach. George knew exactly how dangerous the stunts were because he'd treated car accident victims professionally, noted the crew. His medical knowledge didn't make him cautious, it made him confident he could handle emergencies when they inevitably occurred. We had working doctor on set who was also the person designing the dangerous stunts. The Knight Rider's death crash was filmed by actually destroying expensive motorcycle at high speed with rider barely escaping. That wasn't special effects or clever editing. We really crashed that bike at full speed, revealed the stunt team. The explosion and destruction were real, captured in single take because we couldn't afford to do it twice. The authenticity you see on screen reflects genuine destruction and danger. Mel Gibson disclosed that he performed many driving stunts himself. I wasn't qualified or trained for the car work George asked me to do. The recklessness was partly youthful stupidity and partly necessity. We couldn't afford stunt doubles for everything. The risks I took were insane by modern standards, but they created performances that couldn't be faked through editing or effects. The violence that got the film banned. The graphic depiction of vehicular carnage and bodily destruction wasn't exploitation gratuitousness. It was George Miller's deliberate choice to show consequences of violence. What the cast revealed about the film's controversial content shows how the unflinching brutality got Mad Max banned in several countries while forcing audiences to confront cost of automotive violence. The decision to show realistic injuries and death shocked audiences accustomed to sanitized action violence. Hollywood action films showed people dying cleanly without depicting actual physical trauma, disclosed George Miller. My emergency room experience taught me that real violence is messy, brutal, and devastating. I wanted audiences to understand the true cost rather than enjoying stylized killing as entertainment. The film's most controversial sequence, where Toe Cutter's gang is destroyed by semi-truck, was deemed too graphic for many markets. We showed bodies being crushed and vehicles being destroyed with realistic physics and consequences, noted the production team. Several countries banned the film entirely because the violence was considered too disturbing and realistic. The controversy proved we'd succeeded in making violence horrifying rather than exciting. Mel Gibson revealed that filming the violent sequences affected the cast psychologically. Watching people perform those stunts and seeing the staged, but realistic injuries was genuinely disturbing. We knew it was movie, but the practical effects and real danger created authentic trauma. The final product's violence reflected our own discomfort with what we were depicting. The American dubbing that destroyed the original. The film's US release wasn't just distributed, it was completely redubbed because American distributors believed Australian accents were incomprehensible. What Mel Gibson revealed about this cultural vandalism shows how the dubbing insulted both Australian filmmakers and American audiences, while demonstrating Hollywood's provincial attitudes toward non-American English. The decision to replace all dialogue with American voice actors was unprecedented cultural dismissal. American distributors claimed US audiences wouldn't understand Australian accents, disclosed distribution executives. They hired voice actors to replace every single line of dialogue, including Mel's performance. The assumption that American viewers were too stupid or provincial to understand English spoken with Australian accent was insulting to everyone involved. Mel Gibson revealed his fury at having his performance replaced. They erased my actual voice and replaced it with some American actor doing generic tough guy voice. Years of work developing Max's character through vocal performance were discarded because Americans supposedly couldn't handle Australian accents. The condescension was remarkable and infuriating. The eventual restoration of the original Australian soundtrack vindicated the filmmaker's anger. Home video allowed audiences to finally hear the actual performances, noted the cast. The superiority of the original version over the dubbed disaster proved that American audiences were perfectly capable of understanding Australian English. The dubbing was solution to problem that never existed. The legacy that revolutionized action filmmaking. Mad Max's influence wasn't limited to post-apocalyptic genre. It revolutionized how action sequences were filmed and edited. What George Miller revealed about the film's lasting impact shows how poverty and necessity forced innovations that became standard techniques in modern action cinema, worth billions in global box office. The film's kinetic editing style that emphasized vehicular movement and spatial relationships influenced generations of action directors. George's editing approach prioritized geography and physics over spectacular destruction, disclosed film scholars. Audiences always understood where vehicles were in space and how they related to each other. That spatial clarity made the action comprehensible and thrilling rather than confusing. Modern action cinema's best sequences follow that template. The practical stunt work's superiority to later CGI-heavy action vindicated Miller's dangerous commitment to reality. Audiences instinctively recognize the difference between real stunts and digital effects, noted contemporary action directors. Mad Max's practical work has physical weight and danger that CGI can't fully replicate. The film proved that authentic risk creates authentic excitement that technology still struggles to match. Mel Gibson disclosed how the film established his action star persona. Everything in my career traces back to Max. The laconic tough guy, the revenge-driven warrior, the reluctant hero. Those templates came from this first film. George created character archetype that I'd play variations on for decades across multiple franchises and roles. Watch the film again with appreciation for its revolutionary practical action filmmaking, its influence on dystopian aesthetics, and its proof that creativity matters more than budget. Notice how the sparse setting and minimal effects create more unsettling future than CGI spectacle, and how the grounded violence forces confrontation with actual consequences. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into low-budget films that revolutionized cinema through necessity and vision. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads, and let us know in the comments whether practical stunts or CGI creates better action. The road goes on forever.